Hello and welcome. I think we are live. I am here. It is Wednesday. It is the iced coffee hour, although the ice appears to have already melted. Welcome. What is up? If you are here and you can hear me and see me, please tell me in the chat so that I will stop worrying about it and I can get on to the plan for the day. I'm not gonna lie, today is somewhat of a low energy day, so I'm really hoping that by coming into this chat and just leaning on the people that are in here, my accountability lever will be cranked and I will be fired up to go out and do the good work. So yeah, today the plan is to chat to people in the chat and then answer some of the questions that I've gotten on my most recent video. Primarily, people are asking about writing blog posts. Apparently, there's a lot of talk about keyword research and niche selection, but people are having a tough time getting down to the nitty gritty to actually get the boring work done. And so I figured that we should talk about the actual writing process, and I'm happy to do that. So I did tell some people in the comments of videos recently that I would focus on writing blog posts today, and so that is the plan. Jumping over to the chat, I am going to say hey to Keith. He said he is here and he's got his popcorn. Welcome, Keith. Way to be here first after missing a couple of streams. Showing us your commitment is awesome. There's Margaret. Hello, my lady. There's Adrian, who is still on vacation in Iceland. I'm not sure if he's back yet, but either way, his dedication is admirable. There's Sabina. What is going on? And Chris, thank you as always for dropping in. And I have been looking for your month one video. I have to imagine that it's going to be better than mine. Like you could see my month one video for the Fight Site series. It was recorded separately from the second half because the first half I recorded and I was like super jazzed. And then the second half of it, I just thought was terrible. And so I karate chopped it and got rid of it and then re-recorded it later. So but it was with different energy. It wasn't as playful as the first one. I just thought the first take was so bad. It was so bad. Oh man. Savita says, been binging some of the old interviews, so much good stuff. There is, and I actually took a lot of stuff down off of the main channel recently, I guess earlier in the year, because I felt like it was hurting the performance of the main channel. And I've been debating about maybe in the next year or two creating a membership option in YouTube and just funneling, instead of deleting my old videos, putting them in the membership area so that they are just available to the people who really want them versus just sort of floating around and clogging up the channel. But we'll see. Most of those videos, though, that I have taken down, the interviews are still on the podcast, which I have not been working on because I've been so focused. Because remember, 2021 was all about focus. So I'm not letting other things distract me much, except for the drawing board, my project with Chris, which if you want to check that out, link is in the description. But yeah, no, that's what it is. I'm distracted. All right, back to the chat. Adrian says he's just back from Iceland and now sad that I left. Yeah, no, I would love to visit Iceland. It sounds amazing. Keith said he enjoyed the editing. I think the editing, like in the first part of it, like it sucked all the life out of the second part of it because all of my effort went into that and it was fun. And then I was like, all right, I am spent. Checking the thumbs up button. This is a reminder to make my heart feel fuzzy and smash the like button because I don't know if it helps. There's Donna K. What's going on? I want to know how things are going for you. How has the week been? Have you gotten stuff done? Chris says, yeah. I'm just adding I'm just assuming that when you say it, you're like, yeah. I recorded my month one video, hated it. I'm going to have to re-record. Sometimes that happens. Friends, you can be in this business for years and still have to re-record videos. Sabina says, Chris said nice things about her videos and she was responding. Loved all the editing. Oh, hey, and there is Denise. We have not caught up in so long. I would love to know how things are going for you. To the topic of the day, today I wanted to talk about writing blog posts. And I've heard from several people that writing blog posts is really hard. And I can totally get that, right? Like you get down to the computer and you're like, all right, I have just spent hours like creating this topic list, right? I know the topic. I know the keyword that I'm going to write. And then you sit down and you're like, huh. And you're like, huh. it just won't come out, right? And so there's a couple reasons that I can only speak for myself personally, and I will throw to the chat. I would also love people to chime in and talk to me about what they think blocks them from writing about a particular topic. But one of the primary reasons that I struggle to actually write is I honestly don't know or understand truly the topic, right? Like the sentence, like not the sentence, like the keyword, like the thing that I'm planning on writing about is not something that I necessarily either have knowledge about myself or understand. And so basically, if I'm cobbling together information from other places, like let's say I'm going to be writing about types of fence boards, right? Because I'm always looking out my window at my fence. I don't know a dang thing about making fences, right? Fence boards. Like I'm sitting down and be like, all right, the best type of fence board is, and I don't know what that is, honestly. And so what I sit down to do is I'm going to do research and I'm going to learn what other people say about fence boards. And so I'm reading articles and reading articles and reading articles. And I think that cedar is probably a good fence board. But why? Like truly why? And so then I've got to go and research that. And I'm researching. I'm like, okay, cedar might be less likely to get attacked by termites or other pests. And it's going to last a long time. I'm like, all right. But you can see how it would be really hard to sit down and write the article about best fence boards when you don't know the topic. So sometimes what you can do when you sit down to write and you find yourself like really struggling to get started, it can be a sign that you might not know enough. And maybe the solution, rather than sitting there at the keyboard and like pulling out the hair that you have, is to get more up to speed on the topic, right? Maybe it's reading, maybe it's doing additional research. But another thing is not just that you don't have the information, but you don't understand it, right? For you to be able to write, like to write a paragraph about something, it needs to come out of your brain. Because if it's not coming out of your brain, it means you're just copying and pasting, which means that you might not know what it is that you're really saying, and it's really hard to do. So you say, okay, I could do more research, but how do I know if I really truly understand it? And what I do, this is honestly what I do, is can I tell somebody else about it? Like honestly, not looking at the thing while I do it, and not looking at my notes, is can I explain to my partner, child, friend, the mirror on the wall, can I answer this question from my brain without looking at my notes or the screen? So you say, oh, like, gosh, I just can't write this blog post. It's just like coming out so slow. Can you turn to someone over there and say, all right, you absolutely need to buy cedar for fences, and here's why. And then go through and list the reasons why. It's coming out of your brain. It's not coming off of something that you've regurgitated, and you can actually talk about it, right? And maybe somebody could ask you questions about it and you could respond to them. If you cannot do that about the topic, about fence posts, then can you imagine how hard it would be to sit down and write that content? Because you'd basically just be copying words in an order and like trying to reorder them in the hopes that you're going to be able to pass Copyscape. That's really hard. People say, oh, well, man, I just don't have time to like learn the topic. I say, well, that's why, a lot of people go into niches where they at least have some, it's like some foundational knowledge because they have more of it in their brain already. that they can spill out and actually, take in additional information, but then turn it around in their head and spill it out. You say, okay, well, I'm sitting down at the computer and I'm doing research and I'm doing my best to understand the topic, right? And I'll accept how long that takes. But how do I get faster at actually writing the article? All right, I'll admit that I have to learn more about it. All right, I'll do that. So you've done the research. You have maybe the articles that you are using as your foundation. You have the information in your head, and you're planning on writing the article. And I'm going to pause right there and flip to the chat and say hey to, looks like Phil. What's going on, Phil? I want to just shout out Phil as being one of the creators of the popcorn theme, which I am using on the fight site. There is a link to a $20 off coupon in the description. And the reason I say that is because it expires at the end of August. So far, 2 people have used that coupon, and I am super excited and thrilled because I'm an affiliate, which means I earn a little bit of money from it. And it's cool. Thanks. Donna says that she has been running around filming travel videos for YouTube and trying to edit posts, which is awesome. Radha Krishna says, which do you prefer, coffee with sugar or without? I am firmly a no sugar, no syrups, no sweets of any kind. I like my coffee bitter, maybe because my soul is bitter. I do not know. But I am a no sugar kind of girl. And Donna Kay says she hit 25,000 sessions per month on the travel site and 20,000 sessions per month on the one-year-old site. And that is amazing. I'm excited. Like, I'm getting excited just hearing that. That is awesome. Graham says hello. And he's mentioning that talk to text or text to voice to read back to me helps me think out new ideas when I'm stuck. I really think that dictation is a great way also to get the initial ideas out on paper, right? You're like, it's so hard to type them. But sometimes if you could just say them and get them on paper, then it's like easier to reorder them. So I think really highly of talk to text as a way to get over writer's block. I love it. Tortoise Cashflow, what's going on? I feel like I saw you up in the chat earlier, and hey, what's going on? So then, now let's say back to blog post writing. Like, I'm super scrambled, but I think I've caught up with the chat over there. Now I'm over here to blog post writing. So let's say you have your information. Let's say you have your topic, you're ready, and you say, okay, what can I do to make this process easier, better, faster? One of the things that really helps me crank out content is to be working from a template. You say a template, and I say, well, usually I create topics or keywords or posts based on keywords that are in a cluster that are similar. A good example of this, you see people out there with animal sites like, can rabbits eat corn? Can rabbits eat lettuce? Can rabbits eat whatever? You don't need a new template or recreate the wheel in each case. You're not going to be copying the content over, but a lot of times the headline is similar. The introduction is similar. The headers, the H2s and H3s. I've got H3s in addition to H3s are really similar, and you know sort of what style your outro is going to be. So you see people, like, how can they crank out post after post after post, like hundreds of posts in a month? And that's part of how, right? They have a really strong template. And so what they're really doing is looking for the information, and then they know sort of how it's going to be, where it's going to go. So if you say, I need to crank out a lot of content, then focusing on a cluster of keywords that I want to say are similar, not the same, but similar in that the content that you will be producing will be similar, and then creating a very clear template to work from to address those keywords. So yes, you have to get the information and make sure that it's right. And yes, you have to put it in there, but you're not creating Romeo and Juliet out of your head. Like, it's not Shakespeare every single time you write a paragraph, right? It's putting in the information where it needs to go and making sure that it's organized, that it answers the question, that it gets it done, and then you can move on. So I think one of the things that keeps people from cranking out content quickly is that they are having to create the template post like from scratch every single time, because their keywords are just not similar enough or related enough to allow you to rely upon a pre-established format. So that's definitely a tip. That's definitely something that I do that helps me create lots of posts on a regular basis. Chris says, congrats to Donna Kay, and I think we all should congratulate her because that's great progress. Apparently, Mediavine is going to lower entry requirements to $20,000 a month really soon. You know, I feel like every month people are saying that Mediavine is going to do it, and it still has not happened yet. So I mean, maybe this year, maybe next year. I think maybe they're just trying to tease everybody, just like to hanging on that this is going to be an option. Margaret says, when I know about a topic, I make the mistake of not outlining before jumping into write, usually the wrong way to go. And actually outlining is also on my list of things to talk about. Don't let me forget to do that. Sabina says, I got a lot better after Article 35. So that is another point. People who are in like the beginning stages of writing blog posts, it's really hard in the beginning. You say, oh, well, maybe I should do this and maybe I should do this. But sometimes the solution to the speed is just writing more posts, because you get faster over time. You just do. And Chris will be laughing at me as I said that, because Chris takes a lot of time writing his articles still, like years in. But I mean, overall, the things that slow you down aren't the same, right? Maybe you want to write a better article, or maybe you want to do better research, but it's not sitting down to actually type out the words and like knowing where to put them. That stuff slows you down a lot in the beginning. So I really do agree with Sabina that writing more articles there's no real way to get over that hump of experience, because once you write more, it just becomes easier. It's like a bicycle wheel where you start it and you like start spinning it, and it's like slow and slow and slow. And then it's just so much easier to keep it going once you have it going. But getting it started is really hard. You like my metaphors, analogies? Like that was I can't even say it. I said, this was a prime example of what someone could do with a 6-figure education. I had to try 3 times to say that. And now you know why it takes me forever to record YouTube videos. Keith said, that'll be interesting, Chris. I heard there was talk about it last year and they mentioned it summer 2021. Yeah, talking about Mediavine. We just never know that it will be here. Donna Kay says that she likes to write the complete article, then leave it for 24 hours to 48, and then edit it. As for me, it gives my brain time to think about the topic and what I missed. Yeah, see, you do a good job, I think, a better job than me. If I get the article done enough, I just publish it. And then when I come back in 24 to 48 hours, I just work on a new one. Just figure like, I must get stuff done. Chris says, yeah, people say they think Mediavine will be launching the new program at the end of September. He says he's going to put 2 sites on Mediavine to give it a try. Nobody knows when this will actually be happening. Oh my goodness. What else is going on over here? Let's see. Oh, people want to know about Mediavine. Where did you hear about this? I know that they said last year, but nothing has happened. Yeah, so far it's just talk. I will see it. I will see it when I believe it. I will believe it when I see it. Yeah, the iced coffee is not doing it for me today. Graham says that he likes to use WordTune to mix things up when I've started repeating myself on topics I've written about a lot. Jesse says the thinner that's going to take my publishing volume to the next level is hiring an editor. I think he meant the thing that's going to take him to the next level is hiring an editor and a VA. Yeah, that is amazing how avoiding the whole writing thing in general, you say, okay, well, how can I speed up the writing process? It's to make someone else do it. Absolutely. That's a great point. Someone else just has to do it. And absolutely. Keith says that Carl isn't here, which means we don't know what he's cooking for tea. Well, I feel like we should just quit now. The live stream will not achieve anything unless Commit gets here, and then we will be complete. But until Commit gets here, we are left without what is Carl cooking segment of the live stream? Oh, well, it's just going to be one of those off weeks, I guess. Anthony says, I feel like there should just be one blog post, what do rabbits eat, and each with a different heading. You know, that actually is a great point, right? So as far as writing blog posts, you say, okay, well, what will Google choose? And I think historically, maybe up until recently, if it was what do rabbits eat, a guide, and then having each single one, like paragraph, like addressing what rabbits eat, would have won the day. But it seems like lately Google has been like rewarding the blog posts that maybe the article is shorter, but it's completely on to the point of what the user was asking. So if the user was asking, can rabbits eat lettuce? That maybe a shorter post addressing rabbits eating lettuce could rank number one over the guide that is the complete guide to what rabbits can eat. And I will say for my own self that on the Miga site, I've been experimenting with this. So looking for large, complete guides that address all of the potential topics, like using what rabbits can eat and breaking down the individual items into separate posts has been good for me. Those posts are getting traffic and are I see them coming up, even for a site that is young as it is, coming out over like ranking number one or even capturing the snippet. And maybe that's just a sign of what Google is up to lately, which is trying to answer the question as specifically and directly as possible. We talked in the last couple of weeks about Army Ants posts, about how those posts don't seem to be performing as well after the most recent update. And it begs the question of whether writing like the most comprehensive post on the topic of what rabbits can eat is the best use of our time anymore, and focusing more instead on just getting the information that the user wants like in front of them as quickly as possible. You hear about our colleagues who are writing shorter content, like content that we would think would be subject to a low content penalty and still getting traction right now, versus people who are writing the 10,000 word guide that could be turned into an ebook. It's almost contrary to what we've all been working on, I feel like, in the past couple of years. Like, think of Brian Dean and Backlinko writing like a 50,000 word article and just cleaning up versus really getting quick to the point answers. So I'm just saying, you'd think so, but I think paying attention to what Google is rewarding, especially on your specific topic, it's just we got to be paying attention to that. Vera says, please share some tips on how to do research before writing content, how to make a structure of the content that outranks others. I'm working on that, Vera. And if you caught the beginning of this, we've been talking about some of this is, this is a live stream, so it's going to be maybe a little more like disorganized because I'm talking to the chat and then my own brain going squirrel like that, but we're working on it. We're working on it. Denise says, I know nothing about fence posts, but my approach would be why people use cedar, why people use pine, why someone might use vinyl, etc. I think that actually answering questions is also another way that people can get through an article when they're having a really hard time writing it, right? They say, okay, well, I don't know what to make my H2s. Like, I don't know what to put in the headers and I don't know how to address that. And for me, that can be a great way to guide me through an article when I'm having a tough time, is making the topics of each section a question. Because logically, if you have a question, then you have an answer. So if I think of it as a question, then I know what to write. But if I have something like fence posts, and you're like, well, what do I do with that? Then I'm forced to come up with those things. Like, what do I write? Do I first explain what fence posts are, and then where do we put them? Like, it's much harder to get through an article when you're having to not only put in the information, but also try to anticipate what it is that the reader, that the user, that the viewer actually wants to know. You say, well, where do I get questions? And for the most part, I get my questions from Answer the Public, Answer Socrates, the Alphabet Soup, Sir, what's my sir? And then sometimes just like coming up with them to try to bring myself through the article. But in general, I'm just looking at questions that people have searched before because that can help drive me through that particular topic. Let's see. Are you mucking? Yeah, no, I'm struggling, but I'm here. I'm showing up, right? I'm getting there. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. Shridan says, when I see your stream, I get motivated to write an article. You know what? That's why I come here. When I get off the stream, I'm also more motivated to write articles. So I started the day like kind of unmotivated, but the caffeine is sort of kicking in, and I'm talking to people who are interested in what I'm passionate about. It definitely helps. So I've got a whole bunch of stuff I'm going to do after the stream, and I thank you all for being here to help me get there. Let's see. Sabina says, I'm going to start a second site when I hit 100 articles. I just am anxious to apply some of what I have learned. I feel great about it. You know what? I think people just got to get out there and keep swinging. Keep swinging, and it's going to happen eventually if you keep swinging. Donna Kay says, I also buy books on my topics to learn more about them in depth, as people might not be doing this. Well, you know, I actually go to the library because I'm so cheap. I hate buying books that I'm just going to read and then they sit on my shelf and I give them away. So I go to the library and then get books on the topics, and I either read those or use those to get information that I wouldn't otherwise have access to. And then you can just take it back. That's pretty awesome. Renat says, I don't understand the obsession with Mediavine. I moved all my sites away from them. Ezoic performs much better. You know, here's what I think about the battle about Ezoic versus Mediavine, Mediavine versus AdThrive. I think that we just have to get the experience that with as many of these companies as we can, and then do exactly what you have done, which is figure out which performs best for you, for your setup, for your site. I think that these companies should encourage that, because if they truly are like the best, then they should encourage people to go find out what is the best. And we should be excited and happy to do that. I think, yeah, I'm sorry, that's just what I think. So Sabina says, Facebook groups give me great data for posts and research. Actually, that is a superhero tactic and topic. There are some communities that don't really have a lot in the way of websites, right? Mostly they exist on Facebook groups or on Facebook posts, and that's how they exchange information. So if you can, because that stuff just doesn't exist as far as in websites. So if you can find a forum or a Facebook group, and that's pretty much where they share information because it doesn't exist elsewhere, then you'll have a really fun time using those groups for your research and also getting the traffic when these folks go to search on Google. So yeah, no, I think that's a great tip. Anthony says, I don't get it either. I'm sticking with Ezoic. Hey, what works for you, works for you. Keith says, hopefully that won't be a wallet thinner. Ha ha ha, talking about things. Phil says, I have customers on Mediavine, 50 sites, and on Ezoic, 60 sites. From what I hear, there's not much between them in terms of performance and revenue, but all different niches, so not so scientific. Well, I do think that personal experience is extremely valuable, and this is cool to hear. People love to bash on one or the other, or this is the best, that's the best, but there's nothing, there's no substitute for experience at all. Renat says, I moved this year 2 sites from Mediavine to Ezoic and earned 30% more on Ezoic. So my question then is, why do you think that is? I'm super curious. I mean, super curious. Is it because there are more ads, or the quality of the ads are better, or they have what do you think is different? And I always say that too for folks that go from Ezoic to Mediavine, or from one to AdThrive. Like, what is honestly different? Is there just more money? I'm so curious. Renat also said, I moved 3 sites from AdThrive to Ezoic, and they all performed 15 to 25% better on Ezoic. Chris says, I moved one of my sites from Ezoic to AdThrive, and my revenue went from $7 RPM to $21 RPM. Well, that is just about quit your job money, Chris. That's an impressive result. Donna Kay says, I have both sites on Ezoic, but had to remove it from my travel site as it was really slowing it down. It wasn't passing core web vitals. Keith says, that's interesting. Numbers still to consider. Sagar, hey, y'all, what's going on? And Jesse says that his experience was similar to Chris's. Renat thinks that the setup on Ezoic was not done well, else it was just not possible. I'm like super curious, like technically, like what's different. I'm obsessive. There's John. What's going on? Thanks for dropping in. Ria says, I have 2 to 3 blog posts that have more than 6,000 impressions and rank in the top 10, but CTR is less than 1%. I've tried everything for CTR. Nothing works. What shall I do? All right. So there's some things that maybe you can do and some, it depends. So you say you have the blog post that's on page 1, but it's not getting clicked on. So there's many reasons for that. One, the post could be number 7, 8, 9, 10. So the user, while it's showing up on page 1 and you're getting the impression for it, they're never going to click on it because the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 up till that point get the click. So you say, oh, it's on page 1 in the top 10, but that still isn't enough information for us to know necessarily what could be wrong. Another thing that could be happening is that blog post, that question could be answered with a snippet, right? If the blog post topic is how old is Scarlett Johansson, right? And I answer that question in a blog post and it's on page 1, but the snippet answers that for everybody, then there's no point in anybody continuing to scroll or to click on any of the things. So again, it's like, what's the point of being on page 1? And I can totally understand why the CTR is only 1%, because people somehow already got that information and never needed to click on that blog post. Another thing that could be happening is that the title could be less awesome than titles that are also on page 1. So one of the things that I would do is go and make actually get the results, the titles, actually write them down and compare them. What do these folks have that I don't? Are there numbers in the titles? Are there like active, engaging words that encourage people to click? Could you use, like Ezoic has the title tag tester where you could test, A/B test different versions of the headline to see if you could get more clicks through it. I mean, there's so many things you could do, but for me, I would need to have more information, because just being on page 1, that doesn't mean necessarily anything. I mean, it's great, like on page 1, like, yay, but there's so much more that we would need to know really to talk more about optimizing, getting people to click through to your website. Sagar says, is it normal to rank in first or second page in the first month of blogging? I have 10 articles that are ranking first and second page now. The blog is brand new, but the domain was used before. It can be. It depends on the topic. First of all, I want to like some golf clapping for having a brand new blog where you have stuff on page 1 or 2, because that can be hard to get there quickly out of the gate. It's probably because it's an age domain of some kind, but still, like, it just depends, right? You say, is it normal? And you say, I don't know, because it depends on the topic and the domain and the rest. So maybe, but either way, you should feel good about it. Derek says to Ria, he says, look at the titles that rank ahead of you and formulate a new title that interests searchers. Yes. Donna Kay says, I haven't even thought about the library. I haven't been there in years. So I actually, and this is so nerdy, I became a library volunteer, and I actually donate an hour or 2 of my time every week just to the library. So I go to the library all the time. And it turns out when you work there, you can get even more books and like request books from other libraries and like actually sort of direct what, have some input about what books get ordered. So yeah, I'm super nerdy. Super nerd. Let's see. People still talking about Ezoic versus Mediavine and all the rest. There's Gabrielle. What's going on? Donna K also suggests to Ria that I would look at the meta description and see if it's tempting people to click over and read more to CTR. There's Josh who says, I get to be here once. We haven't seen Josh in a while. How are you, friend? And welcome back. Hope you are well. I don't know what you're up to lately, but what I do know, and I suspect, is that you are working very hard. And that's usually what we can expect for you. Phil says, try using Search Console and sort by impression and find phrases that you're ranking for, filter pages for that phrase, rewrite your metas, and post targeting these phrases. It works. Done it for a few customers. Sagar says, what are your thoughts on backlinking? I think backlinks are necessary, but I'm not the expert on obtaining them. As folks well know, I don't work that hard for them. And does it mean that I cannot succeed without them? I don't think so. I think they are useful and helpful when done right. I'm not the expert. Josh says, working in a hospital with the IT times, lack of free time. Yeah, life happens. I still have no doubt that you do the best that you can from what I know. Josh says, was going to watch the podcast with Ricky and this was on. So squirrel, like diverted. I do plan to consume the podcast with Ricky because I do want to hear more of like just Ricky by himself. So yeah, no, it'll be fun. Back to, we were talking about blog post writing and I think I spent 20 minutes like diverted from like, so let's say you're going to write a blog post, right? And you, okay, how about this? Here's how I write a blog post. And then instead of telling you this is how to do it, because I'm not going to go full on guru here, I'll tell you how I do it. So let's say I've decided that I'm going to write on a particular keyword. I've done the topic research and I've chosen the keyword. Now, rather than just sitting down and writing an introduction and then trying to fill in the blanks as I go and do the research, I will pull and read the top 10 at least articles first that are covering that topic. So I'll search it, best fence post for fence. And then I will read every single article beginning to end I open them all up in one window and I have them all there. And then I read them all, every single one. If this is a topic I don't know about, I want to know what it is that Google is ranking number one. So that's where I start is what is on the front page. Then I look at their introductions, right? How long are the introductions? Are they short, sweet, long, whatever? In general, I'm looking for an introduction that is 2 or 3 sentences max. I do not go over 3 sentences. And in general, what I want to do is present the information that the rest of the blog article will contain in that first paragraph. So it may mean that I can't write the introduction until the end, but that's okay. So I have all the blog posts open. Then in the place of the introduction, I write intro, and then in parentheses, fill in later. And then for my H2, my first H2, after the introduction holding spot, I will write basically what is another version or the form of my keyword, usually in the form of a question that I can answer. So let's say my keyword is best fence posts. And then in my first H2, I will also include that in the H2. And then all of my H3s after that point, for the most part, are topics related to that H2. So I plan these out in advance, like completely in advance. So think of it like an outline. And you say, well, I don't know what to write for my H3s and or my topics or what I need to do. And I say, okay, well, that means you need to do more research, because in general, if you just set out and like, oh, I'll just figure out what to write as I go along, you're like, well, that is a recipe for not finishing a post, being there a really long time, and all the rest. So I have my H2. that includes the topic keyword. And then for me, usually my H3s are answering questions. And I say, well, where do I get those questions? And I say, well, I get them from other articles that I have seen. I get them from Answer the Public, Answer Socrates, LSI keywords, that are down in the bottom. I hope I said that right. I get them from the People Also Asked section, because I assume that if Google is pulling those up, the Google thinks those are related to that particular topic. And I actually lay those out in the blog post. I say, okay, I've got my H2, that is the topic. And then I have pretty much the questions that I'm going to answer before I start writing like lots of other things. So I have a roadmap and knowing where I'm going to go. Once I have those, I say, okay, now I know the topic of the post and I know what I'm going to address, like the questions that I'm going to address. Then I literally do this, people, I'm not even joking. Rather than writing each whole paragraph at once, I actually go in and do like the summary sentence under each question. I think these are the most important parts, really. I have the H2, then the H3, which is usually a question or a topic, and then I answer that question for each H3. So fence posts. Why do people like cedar for fence posts? Answer. Why do people like vinyl? Answer. Why do people like, not that you'd use vinyl on a fence post, but anyway, just the answer. They like it because it is sturdy, blah, 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 blah. And if I can't answer that, again, that's a sign that I don't necessarily know enough about the topic. And I go to get that stuff. And so then I'm like, all right, now I have a post that's 250 words long and it needs to have more. And so then I will go through under each H3 and fill in more background information, more of my research and all the rest. But at that point, I already know sort of the answer. And so I know what to put in there. And so then I just go all the way down, fill in those holes. I write the conclusion, which is basically tell them what I already told them, and then go back to the introduction and answer the question, which is the best fence post, fence board, fence whatever, and answer it in 1 or 2 sentences, and then tell them what I'm going to tell them in the rest of the article. So basically, I start the blog post out with the answer, then tell them I'm going to tell them more, and then I tell them, which is the body, and then at the end, I tell them what I told them. And that's pretty much writing a blog post. You say, okay, well, that I need it. I need that written down. Like that is confusing. That doesn't make any sense. And I say, well, that is one of the reasons why it is worthwhile to buy like organized content from people like Morton or John or the guys that put this stuff together, because yeah, this is what I do. If you want it like written down, like in a flow, like that's where those guys really serve our community. I'm just going to go write more blog posts. People are talking about being keen to watch Ricky's podcast. I think we all are. He says, what is your obsession with fence posts? So you guys want to see this, and I will feel silly doing this, but I'm going to pick up the camera and I'm going to go like this. Oh, you see my kids' drawings right there. And then I don't know if you will be able to see, but that is the super mega awesome view that I have out of my yard right now. That is why every day I talk about fence posts. And sometimes if you see my face, like my eyes, like darting to the side like this, it's because there is a squirrel running across the top of those fence posts. And I'm like, there's a squirrel. Holy cow. I'm like a dog in a cartoon show, like squirrel. Now my thing isn't going to. There we are. So now you know. This is why fence posts are like why I talk about fence posts all the time. Welcome to my super mega awesome amazing view. Hashtag laptop lifestyle. 24K Will, how's it going, friend? We haven't seen you in a while. He says, I found my best performing articles are ones where I've tried to focus on writing the most informative and interesting content rather than the ones will get the highest rank math score. Yeah, I don't worry about getting a high rank math score. I use rank math primarily to remind me when I've forgotten to do things like add an image, yeah, I don't worry too much about how that plays out. Has anyone seen Paul recently? And I am sad to say that I have not seen Paul at all. And I don't have concerns about him, like his personal safety or whatever, but I really hope that, Paul, if you're catching this, that you're still working. You know, people like fall off the bandwagon, so I worry. Sagar says, good blogs are being outranked by Quora and Reddit. I'm not sure why. I've always heard they can get outranked faster than others. Is there a reason why they're gaining more authority? I think that it has to do with Google shuffling and adjusting things. And we've heard that throughout various updates where all of a sudden Pinterest will be ranking #1 for something. And then in the next update, it will be shuffled around. So I think ultimately the best content will eventually win out. It's just a matter of being persistent enough to stick it out and wait for it to happen. Stiggs wants to know why people like barbed wire tattoos. I have no idea because I don't have a barbed wire tattoo. So I will kick that to the chat to see what other people think. Mersik says, what is more important? Keywords that have lots of search volume or low competition? You can pick only one. Low competition. That's what I pick. I pretty much ignore search volume almost entirely because I don't trust the keyword tools to tell me that the search volume is what it is. Most part, I've noticed that they are pretty incorrect. And you say, okay, well, I'll write a blog post on this and get 20 page views a month. It's not worth it. But you also can't forget that those same posts could also get a ton of traffic from other keywords that you didn't even intend. So I don't care at all about search volume. I just wanted to show up in one of the tools as existing. You say, oh, well, could there be keywords that don't show up in keyword tools? And I say, yes, absolutely. Yes. I'm just looking for like something that tells me that I should get going. And that's just my personal way to get started. John says, that is pretty much my process too. I often add tables or charts in there as well. Margaret says, do similar, but I've stopped bothering with conclusion. So you basically ghost people in your article. You're like, hey, having a good time. Hey, having a good time. And then, poof, like gone. You don't even say bye. You're like one of those guys just like, I'm out of here. Like, kapow. Stig says, grass is supposed to have water from time to time. You know, it does. It is greener when you water it, but our this particular area is actually in a severe drought. So right now, if everybody waters their lawns, there is no water to drink. So they've asked people not to water their lawns so that we can have drinking water. But I'm certain that, Stiggs, if you lived here, that your grass would be mighty green. Mighty green. Tortoise Gashua says, tell him what I'm going to tell him. Tell him what I told him. You know what? That also should go on a shirt. Like if I was to be a blogging guru, that would be my blogging content flow chart. I kid you not. So here's what it would be. The top would be blog creation checklist. Step 1, tell them. Step 2, tell them what you're going to tell them. 3, tell them again. Step 4, tell them what you just told them. Add some internal links. Oh, Chris, going back to the question about Reddit and Quora says, my only guess is that the user-generated content provided in Quora are high quality and in-depth, which also means, though, that information could potentially be used as a foundation for an article on a private blog. Maybe. Donna Case says, yep, I always start with an outline for all my posts and do something similar for the intro, body, and conclusion. 24K Will says, Paul probably wrote so many articles, he's now making $10,000 a month, is now chilling on a beach sipping cocktails. Well, I hope for his sake that is what is happening. I would like nothing better. Well, I would like lots of things, but that is one of the things I would also like for Paul to be making 5 figures a month drinking cocktails. John says, yep, some people go super in-depth with their answers on Reddit and Quora. They will write a blog post as their answers. Stig says, don't you have an ocean right next door? Well, I'm going to point like that. And I say, if you drive 45 minutes that way, that is where the ocean is. It's like as the crow flies, like. Saget says, I've seen just a few lines of low-quality paragraphs rank higher, 4 to 5. As a result, I'm a little concerned. It is concerning, but not enough to stop us. Sagar says, tell them nothing. I always try to tell them, like, the answer. And poor Vera, who came here looking for actual information about blog post writing. There's a link to Morton's course in the description of this of this live stream. He's who I refer to everybody to who wants to learn more about blogging, like officially. I'm just in the trenches here, hanging out on a live stream. Let's see. Chris says, yeah, I don't know. I try to add some more tables and images to try to push the article up. Oh, so going back to an article being in the top 10 but not getting click through, and doing some internal linking. And then Brian says, Coos Bay. And I say, Coos Bay is more like that way. Like looking out the window and going that way. Like just a bit more south. Vera says, is there needed any pillar post? I don't worry about pillar posts. For the most part, I mean, so pillar posts, I think of as being like a central post that may cover, like be a super in-depth mega guide where your supporting info posts like connect into it. And the answer is you can if you want to, if that's part of your architecture and your strategy to pass link juice around. For the most part, I just focus on informational keywords that can be linked to each other and relate to each other enough, and I don't worry about a pillar post. But other people do. Other people really do that for the passing of the link juice, and I don't. You say, is it required? I don't know. I have a site that in 7 to 8 months has 30,000 page views that I built from scratch without a pillar post. I think you could probably do it both ways and be happy. So up to you. The website focus on informational content. For me, I think that you can answer questions and focus on informational content without a pillar post. But if you want to do pillar posts, you can and still be successful. Graham says, many people use AI tools to scrape Reddit and then generate content based on those detailed answers. Yes. Too bad sometimes those answers are garbage, which is the hard part about using AI if you don't actually have knowledge about those topic areas, that you find them talking about dinosaurs as being the solution to global warming. You just have to be able to actually read it and edit it and work up the content. Stig says, nice segment on Sean's video today. By the way, good video. Yeah, this is a shout out. Sean Mars did do a video about blogging mental health. I highly recommend it for folks to check out. I did submit a video to it, and I had some anxiety about the quality of the video, so I haven't, of my video, my contribution, so I haven't been able to get over my anxiety to go and watch it. So feel free to go and watch it and then come back and tell me how it was, because, and that's a reminder, I should share that. I'm going to share that here. Share Sean's, this is me making note, video, because that was cool of him to ask me. And I almost didn't get it in because I have too much stuff to do and I got distracted. Chris says, AI tools suck. You know, I think if people go into using them with the right mindset, that it works out, right? If you go into it thinking, okay, this will help me get started, but I'm still going to do research and I'm still going to learn and like figure this out and then turn this into good content. I mean, there's probably a place for them, but if you're going to use it to try to make money on third-party writing platforms like iWriter, or, I mean, it's obvious to us as people who are purchasing content when somebody is using these tools and not putting in the time to actually make the content good. So I don't know. It's like any tool, right? It's just you can't not try hard, I guess is what it is. Like, shortcuts don't exist. AI tool is not a shortcut. It's just another tool and you use it and there's still work that has to go into it. And my brain like went, bloop. John says, I write 90% response style, a 1,000 to 2,000 word posts, but 10% longer pillar posts, only as a way to build silos. There you go. Sagar says, thanks, Chris and Amelia. I will keep you updated. Yep. I love to hear updates about people's progress. It makes me happy to hear how people are doing, and it's great to hear progress. So feel free to come back and update us anytime. Graham says, not a fan. I think about AI tools. Tried them out, but it's far from ready for what they're using them for. Yeah, well, until Skynet is here and truly understands the content, not just putting the words in order, but actually understands that dinosaurs are not chickens, it's going to be a while. Josh says, I have no issue with AI tools. Like I said, I think that if people are using them with the right frame of mind, that they can be useful and helpful. Donna K says, I think a lot of people push AI tools due to affiliate commissions. Maybe. Josh says, people have to stop thinking it's going to do all the work for you. Yes. Definitely AI is an assistant to help you think more. Yep, I think using it as a tool is its rightful place, at least right now. Will says, AI tools did well on my articles, optimized for Pinterest, listicles with basic summaries, no technical info. So again, though, I think that if you didn't know something about those topics, it would still be hard to necessarily know whether you should publish that article, though. I mean, do you actually understand the topic, or are you just accepting like this is what Jarvis has pulled out and is telling you what to publish? John says, I use AI, and it is important to remember it won't replace you as a writer. I think it is as an aid to help write more in less time. Donna Kay says, and not because they are good, you have to do some heavy editing and to want these tools to what these actually write. Might as well write the post yourself. Says, what is your most favorite plugin? Well, I almost use none of them. I'm going to actually go and I'll open up the Amiga site and I will look at what plugins. If anybody else has a plugin that they think is like the best to like blow your mind, like you will fail, but for having the plugin, folks who are following along know that I have like very few things. But on the Amiga site, this is my plugins list. I have code snippets, which I use very little. I have the Ezoic plugin because I'm integrated that way with Ezoic. Gutenberg blocks, insert headers and footers. I have Link Whisper on this site. Lucky WP table of contents, rank math, ultimate add-ons for Gutenberg, Updraft, WP word count, and WP Forms Lite. And I guess of these plugins that I rely on, the one I consistently use a lot is probably Updraft. And I use that for backups. And people say, well, can't you just, have your host, get their updates or back things up to when they last did? And I guess I'm a little like anxious. And whenever I'm making changes to something like significant, especially because I'm doing a lot of work on the site, like I don't want to lose like today's work. So I will regularly just back up and then download the backups through Updraft, and then I have it. And so if I screw things up, which does happen, then I just have it. Phil's here. My world is complete. Phil says, am I late? And I say, Phil, we started an hour ago. So yes. So yeah, that was the plugin. Stig says phrase. Hughes, Donna K says word fence. And Phil says never rely on a host for backups. Always do your own backups, even if the host has them. Sagar says Sean's video was fantastic as it shows 7 bloggers and how they stay motivated. I don't know who else did he ask. I was curious to see who else participated in this. I mean, obviously I'm going to go and watch it now because people brought it up, so I'm gonna have to go see. Stig says that Phil is on island time. Yes, it is the top of the hour, and I want to talk about something kind of uncomfortable for me before I go, but I wanted to just mention that I don't know. I don't know if it's like my profile as it has grown. I've started to get more and more requests for people like assistance from people either over Facebook Messenger or over Skype or other places. And so far, I have tried really hard to help a lot of people as much as I can, especially people that I really like, and or maybe people that that don't even know, because it makes me feel good, and I feel like contributing back to this community is important. But I've started to get a lot of demands on my time, and not the respectful kind. Like people just assuming that I have a lot of time and that all of that time is free, and I can't do it anymore. Everybody, I don't do coaching. I don't do I don't have a course. Like I'd recommend that people invest in Morton's course, or other places, and I'm gonna have to put the hammer down on doing um like free consults. I don't I love investing my time in people, but when the expectation is that my time is free and that I must have only free time, I can't do it anymore, folks. So I'm not going to be offering free consults to people, because I've got a lot of stuff to do, and I don't feel like people are respecting my time. Like, I don't think my time is worth $500 an hour, or, thousands of dollars an hour, but it's definitely worth the time that I could be using that time to create a blog post, or to be hanging out with my kids, or washing the dishes, because Lord knows I don't want to do those things. But so if folks were are currently trying to hit me up for free consults right now, or are planning on doing it in the future, I think I'm just going to save them. I'm going to save them as like bonuses for if people use my affiliate link, like if I am helping somebody launch something, or I don't know. But for now, so yeah, it's uncomfortable for me to want to talk about it, but I don't know. I feel like I just had to put that out there, because it happened a couple times yesterday, even. Like you try to help somebody, and then they don't even say like, thanks, see you later. Like they just, once you've served them, they're like, peace out. And I don't know, it doesn't make me feel good. So I'm just going to take a break from doing that. Checking the chat before we head out. Josh, I scroll down, and Josh Coop says, no one asks me because I'm always positive. Phil says that UK is indeed an island. All of America is an island. It is fully surrounded by water. Phil says that Josh had a good video on snippets, and I need to check that out because I'm fully behind. Stig says that he asked Chris, but he was hiking or eating granola. That's what I heard. Chris was too busy eating granola to participate in the roundup. Baraz says, is there any changes on your traffic after 1 week? And the answer is yes, but I will be saving it for update videos. I'm excited. Stig says he didn't get his free consult. And I said, well, you should have gotten yours while you can. I was offering them for people who bought Morton's course with my link, and I'm going to save it for something special. John says, I'm building a website right now for someone, and it's taking forever because of all the revisions. Yes. Phil says, time is your most valuable asset. Don't waste it by giving away for free. I do a lot of volunteering. Like I've always thought of service as being important, and it's something I've always done, right? Like I volunteered at the library, like in my community, right? Like I go there and use my 6-figure educated brain, and I shelve books, and I talk to kids about books because I enjoy it. I think it's important, but I just feel like they value that time, and I don't feel like people who are just trying to get answers from me online value me. So consult on fence posts. If I knew what I was doing, you saw my fence, it clearly needs to be replaced. I'm definitely not the authority on that. Denise says, set up paid consultations and lead people there. I also have a YouTube channel, and people ask for free guidance. I lead them to a paid consult calendar. Yeah, I think I've got to be in the right mindset to want to do consults, because I'm just going to focus on building sites for now. That's just what I am going to do. And maybe next year I will feel different or better. Keith says, you're right. I see a small bit of that myself, and already seeing people leeching info and advice without so much as a thank you. I mean, everybody wants to succeed. So I don't want to stop people from seeking out information. It's just that I can't be that person right now. Chris says, eating granola. You say random things sometimes. We can't stop him, right? Chris says, yeah, I didn't have anything instructive to say about mental health and motivation. I wake up motivated. Don't know how. Oh, yes. Well, when you figure it out, please come and share it with us because we would appreciate that information. And then Graham says, thanks for the updraft tip. I just finished my backing up now. All right, folks, I'm going to wrap up. Before you go, slam the like button because it makes my heart feel fuzzy. I enjoy talking to everybody. I plan to be back next Wednesday. I'm pretty sure that one Wednesday in September, I am going to be out of the office. So I will be missing a live stream coming up in September, but definitely I'm planning on being with you next week. I look forward to hearing about your progress in the next 7 days and look forward to making some progress of my own. And yes, see you next Wednesday. Take care.